Yeah.
All wired up and send it home.
Oh, prayer. Got the prayer okay?
Sure.
All right, good.
We are
Good, good.
just so you know.
Okay, are you clicked on? Yes? Close enough. I will call this meeting, Sunny County Commissioners order for, no, it's not Tuesday. Today is Thursday, December 21st, right? All right. Please join me in a pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Stacy, please.
Get ready for prayer. Lord, thank you for the opportunity to be here doing our jobs as public servants and guide us in this process as we proceed with one of the most important responsibilities we have is overseeing this budget so we can put it to the best good for the citizens of Seneca County. Let us all be safe and remember all the wonderful blessings as we celebrate this season in celebration of the birth of your son, Jesus. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kirschner,
Here.
Commissioner Thomas,
Here.
Commissioner Stacy.
Here.
Okay, I'll accept the motion to approve the digital audio video recording of the previous board session from Tuesday, December 19th.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Stacy,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner.
Yes. Okay, any adjustments to the agenda, fellow commissioners? Hearing none, we'll move forward with the, we don't have any old business, do we?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Way to commit.
Not right moment.
Trying to figure out who the
Not really sure.
who's the politician here?
Right.
New business, 2018 general fund budget.
And if you want, we can do those last, to have more discussion. And get through the other stuff.
Okay,
If
you wanna go
want.
through all the, that's fine, you wanna go through all the appropriations
Yep.
first? Okay, let's do that.
I got an appropriation adjustment within the Public Assistance Fund, moving $3,872.09 from assistance to child services shared cost. I have an appropriation adjustment within the general fund, moving various lines totaling $1,011. This is at the request of the recorder. I have a resolution amending the board's orders of December 19th, 2017, Journal 93, page 584, a fund advance from the general fund to the impaired driving enforcement fund. She needed to change the amount to, it was originally 1,000 and needs to be 1,200. I have another amending the board's orders of December 19th, Journal 93, page 579, supplement to the permanent appropriations for the county sales tax. The original bond payments numbers were just inverted. It was originally, I read $6,690.76 for the bond payment, and $6,960.79.
Okay,
I have a resolution rescinding the board's orders of December 19th, 2017, supplemental appropriation to the general fund, volume 93, page 598. This was for,
That was the one that I had Tanya do as an appropriation, we just needed it to be the
oh,
generic resolution
yep,
for.
the resolution we did for the bus.
Yep.
She was gonna she put it in, actually into a line, and it was just a generic resolution authorizing up to $5,000. And then once we get the confirmation from Charlene next year, we'll actually put the money in place. No sense doing that this year.
all right. So this is like the hokey pokey, you put it in and then we take it out?
Yep. That's what we get for end of year trying to be efficient and in a hurry. Nope, I did too.
Sad news though, you know the guy that wrote the hokey pokey died last week? Couldn't bury him. Every time he put his left arm in, his right arm came.
I knew there was going to talk about that.
Rest in peace, hokey pokey guy.
And I have
I'll do a
a
roll
very
for
important
that.
resolution. I have a resolution appointing Mike Clace as the intermittent interim, excuse me, you even clarified that, interim
I don't want
EMA.
intermittent.
Yeah, don't need intermittent EMA administrator effective December 20th, 2017, until we get the position filled.
Okay.
And I know you guys know Mike.
Yes.
Doesn't look like he's being held against his will here. So unless he's coming to protest.
Invisible handcuffs and,
He was promised lunch.
Yeah.
Good,
I
good
guess
luck
people
with
get
that.
it.
Good luck with that.
so.
Thank you for taking that on, and, we need to keep that up and functioning, so appreciate that. Appreciate it.
Anything you'd like to say, or?
Do what I can do best.
That's why we did it. You
We'll
went
get through it.
Yeah.
We're all just one group. We'll get through it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I think that's all the resolutions I had.
Okay. I'll accept the motion to, for the appropriations and the resolutions.
So I will second that.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes. Now, the budget.
Yep.
Drum roll.
One more thing, next week's, schedule, we initially had it our normal Tuesday board sessions. And we did have a request from the auditor's office if we could move it from Tuesday to Wednesday. It just gives them a chance to clean up the books after the holiday and,
Wednesday at 10.
yep, if that's okay with you, we'll move it to Wednesday,
27th at 10.
27th at 10, yep. Thank you. Now, budgets.
Now budget.
Y'all all ready? We can pass it and move forward, no questions asked, right?
Yeah, maybe not questions.
Can I get a motion? Evidently not. Let's go.
I sent out the general fund budgets to you guys the other day. I did just get the non-general funds out to you last night. And I think I sent you an email, a couple things we need to make sure we look over and review is, our capital improvement fund. Shane had asked me a couple questions about, verifying what we had in place, currently. So we pulled up a couple of the reports. And right now we have the 500 in place for the voting machines, 500 in place for the annex. And then we had put the 300,000 in for the Justice Center in case we needed it.
Yes.
Those are the only ones we've got held. The rest of them are still in. I've got about, with a couple things that still need paid, 284,000 on purchase orders. That's to get the jail security upgrades that we had already approved done, the CSB, Board of Election Engineering, and that'll be done by the end of the year. And the annex engineering, which that one will carry over.
Is this the proper time to talk about setting up a separate contingency operating account?
We can do that now. It's a little of both.
Okay.
Because the operating fund that Julie sent me the code on for a, what you call it, a budget stabilization fund.
Budget stabilization fund, yeah.
And,
Let me explain here. I think, did we certify 17.5?
for the general fund, yes.
Okay. So we certified 17.5 and the total budget requests are?
My updated amount is 16,852,120.81.
Okay. So we have approximately $500,000 certified over what the needs are of the county, the different departments, et cetera. We are concerned in 2019, since the is it Medicaid?
Sales tax mix.
Yeah, sales tax.
Managed care.
Okay.
Medicaid managed.
Anyways, that sale, we were, the state was, allowed the counties, or credited the counties with the amounts of money that we would have received for 2018 for our budgets. However, we think that there may be some legislation to supplement that further in 19, but we're less than half sure that'll happen. So, since we have the overreach for this year, we wanted to establish a stabilization fund, which simply means we'll put $500,000 away that cannot be touched, and it's only to be used for operations, especially if we need that money in 19 to certify a number that will take care of all the needs of the county. So it's a savings account to make certain that we have money for future budgets. If we don't need the money, I assume that will stay in that or that income stabilization account for any future years in which there might be a shortfall. So it seems to me to make a lot of sense to put some money aside. Obviously, we're doing it for capital improvement projects, et cetera, but this is specifically purely for operating income.
Yeah, I think the code allows us for 5% to put in that fund.
Yes. So
500,000 is definitely under that amount.
yeah, we'd be allowed somewhere near $1 million, but yeah.
Yeah.
So that's,
I think we should mull that a little bit as this finalizes, but I think this is a
Okay.
good, I think creating a rainy day fund is an important goal for us. But
good.
I would personally like to see first quarter numbers and see where we're at on sales tax collection. We could, decide which way we're going to go with that.
Because it would eat, theoretically, it would eat into a bit of what was certified this year if we do not.
Right.
If we get above the 17.5, it wouldn't, but we might have to take some of the other carryover there to put in the operating contingency account. So I'm fine with looking at the end of the first quarter, but just not lose sight of it.
Yeah, no, I like the idea, but I'd like to see where actual sales tax collections are.
Any thoughts on the MCO? I think we had talked about it, never finalized it, about monthly putting revenue from the MCO fund that we had to set up from the state, moving it to the general fund. You know, at one point, I think we
Right.
talked in board about doing it monthly. We've had the payment for the remainder of the year. We haven't moved any of it yet. If your thoughts are still moving it monthly, if you wanna wait.
I thought we had decided that we were gonna take it monthly, but if you guys
Yeah.
have changed your opinion on that.
Yeah, I know.
It goes into our carryover if it's
Right.
surplus, so,
Well, I like that, I like it because when we have our budget commission meetings, not budget commission, when we have our, budget commission meetings, it gives us a clear understanding on an equalized basis
Yeah, no,
where we're at on a monthly basis. We were talking about, making huge adjustments at the end of the year, doesn't do any of us any good. We kinda need to know where we're at on a regular basis.
Okay, well, I'll get the resolution put together for that.
Okay. How much, we obviously, we took the 17 money, and what's the exact, do you know what the number is for 18?
The total's gonna be about 900,000.
Okay.
And then the second,
So the second half of 17 and all of 18.
yep, that'll
So
come
somewhere
in.
about 600,000.
It's about, yeah,
Okay.
it'll be, I think she said February when we would get that other amount,
All right.
so.
so are we taking that over 12 months, or?
Taking over 12 months, yeah. If we don't get it till February, you don't know what the number is though.
Yeah, but I
right?
still have 17s,
Okay.
since we've already made it through, we got that 2 months ago, and we
We
haven't moved
taken-
any.
Yeah,
So the full amount will be in there, that, in theory, should have held us
So
for
are
18
we-
months.
Or did we credit 17 with the second half of 17?
No,
No.
it's still in there, we didn't need it. We were over our estimated revenue, so
Okay.
we didn't move any of 17s yet.
So if we would have moved 17s, are we going to?
That's up to you. I can divide the whole amount by 12 months.
I mean, that'd be another
Because you have something to start
$300,000.
moving in January.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't say it too loud that we didn't need that.
Well, the
No,
question
no,
is,
no.
Then we
Yeah,
have to
sorry.
hear
Yeah.
that.
well, the question is, are we gonna
Don't take
accrue
it out.
600,000 over 12 months, or are we gonna accrue 900,000 over 12 months?
And if some of that is what you wanted to use towards that stabilization fund, something to think about too. So, I mean, I don't
I
need
mean,
an answer
it was-
today, I just,
right.
I wanted to,
I mean, it was meant to be
yep,
for the second half of 17 and all of 18.
Right,
yeah.
right,
But we haven't taken any of it.
right.
So the question is, do we want to show that for 17 and then accrue 600,000 for the year 18? Or do we want to accrue 900,000 for the year 18? My concern about that is it kind of distorts what the income really is.
Oof, yeah.
What's your pleasure?
yeah, I think we should take it in 17, and if we make a decision to make a budget stabilization fund, it'll just,
Put it all in there.
yeah,
so you want 17s this year,
yeah.
okay?
Give you a more accurate reflection when you look back. other than,
It's all in 1 year.
all these side notes, but by the way,
Yeah.
this was not in, and.
Hey, these are good problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Wow, all right.
So we'll get that resolution ready for Wednesday.
Okay.
I want to have you hit the 215 stuff again, just to make sure I'm with you.
Yep.
I was trying to find the right page. I had my pages all messed up.
On the 215?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the 500,000 is a voter's equipment, or essentially.
Yeah.
I'll let you find your paper.
I got yours, 215 down here. And I did page down because Shane and I were trying to go through them. And they weren't listed, page numbers weren't listed, so that was fun.
Mess, yeah.
I had the same problem when I was in mine, and then, yeah.
Yeah, I went through it, I know.
215 capital improvements.
I don't know.
Okay, so what I put in there, what we currently have isn't gonna show up in here. What we currently have is the 500 for the voting machines, $500 for the annex renovation, and 300 for the Justice Center. What I put in 215 is, in the equipment line, obviously, at the beginning of 17, we only put 250. We did a supplemental appropriation, so to put in the additional 250 mid-year. So I'm appropriating that under equipment to hold it, kind of
So
what we've
that's already
always
there,
done.
staying there.
That's already there.
Okay.
Jail, we don't have anything going on, or at least right now anticipated for the jail. CSB, that was the prosecutor's office, and the Board of Elections in 2017. Obviously, we're not gonna have any in 18, or not projected to. RTA, we've been carrying a balance over for the RTA building. At one point, we were either considering painting the building, or at least pressure washing the building. So I just put the 20,000 in that line again. If we use it, okay. If we put it towards something else, okay.
Yes, please.
Is that-
Just grab it, please.
Yeah.
That's the total we have in there, we're not accruing any money over the years, that's.
Right, yeah, that's just total.
$20,000, okay.
Yeah, because I think we had a quote, and it's been quite a few years ago, to paint it was 11,000 if I remember. So we just kind of put 20 in there.
Okay.
The next line, it says CP2, but that's supposed to be for the annex.
That was my question.
Initially, we had put in 250,000 for the annex, and then sometime mid-2017, we put an additional 250,000 in there. The additional 650, I did just get updated projected cost for the annex is about 650. So that would need, if we decide to move forward with all the projects or with all the alternates, would need an additional 150 in there.
So that's additional 150 from where we currently were.
Yep.
Okay,
So
that's what I was-
there's
okay.
500 plus, what's the other, 150?
150, so
150.
total of 650.
150 for,
That would be the annex, because
That was,
that's
the estimate was total
the
650.
estimate I got
We already have
from,
500 in the account.
why is this account 650? I thought we put 500 into that.
we did, to meet the additional, for the alternates that we did, the new quote for the annex is 650. So
there's
we
a
would
new one.
need,
There's a new 150
Yes.
in there now?
yes, and that's why I said we needed to talk about it, because I
Oh,
just
okay.
got the quote.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's new information.
The
Yes,
proposed,
Okay.
Just
yeah,
got
it's
that.
proposed with additional 150.
yep, that's what we would need, you know, depending on whether that's approving all of the alternates that we laid out. Like I said, I just got it, so I just threw in that additional 150, so
But that-
it would bookmark it in the,
Okay. But it wouldn't mean that we would approve the alternates, it would simply mean that we're putting enough money in
to cover
to
that.
fund those if we so decided.
Right,
Okay.
right. And then the contingencies, 100,000 is what is about the number that we do have dedicated going into capital improvements for, we take our leases, all our lease payments from soil and water, from health department, all of them, our farm leases. We've dedicated those revenues years ago to 215. It's about 100,000, so we always just put that 100,000 in contingencies. That way when a project came up, we knew it was there.
So again, is that an accumulation, or is that just 100,000?
That's what we get every year, is about 100,000 for leases.
Okay,
So-
but that number doesn't continue to build.
No, because we've had more projects
Okay.
than what we have funding.
Okay. Got it, all right. Make sure we don't have some fun someplace that we're not aware of.
No, unfortunately.
Okay.
I think it's worth noting on the annex project that a good chunk of that is a change in scope. We ask for, I specifically ask for LED upgrades on all floors. So that's a change in scope from what we originally envisioned.
Yeah.
And a good chunk of that is for the data center. So, just so we're all clear.
So not directly related to the court.
Correct.
Correct.
So I just want to make sure that we're all very clear on that there was a change of scope in the ask,
Yeah.
which both of the data center and the LED, there's a possible return on investment there, as as far as that goes. So that's why we're entertaining them there, and so it kind of gets lumped with the annex just because it's happening there, but
Yeah,
it's not
right.
really a reflection of us and what we're doing with juvenile probate.
Yeah, I don't have the updated drawings on it, but they did, I told them I needed, when we were discussing budgets, see if they could give me that number, so.
Okay.
They
And do you
did.
think you have a timeline again on the bidding to figure out?
We anticipate putting the bids out in January, getting them in February, and have it awarded to start when they get out. I think we initially had March 1st, so we'll have to back that up till maybe April 1st by the time they're out of the building.
My preference would be to make that transfer when the number's live.
Okay.
It's my preference, but, it's a matter of 3 months difference.
You wouldn't make any of these changes until after January 1st anyway, right?
Well, I've got it proposed in the budget, if you want me to pull the 150 out.
But I mean, for capital improvements, you wouldn't transfer that money in until 18, right?
Right.
Okay. So it's just a question of timing. I mean, we could approve this budget and say we don't want that money moved
Yeah, because it'll have to
until
be
we get,
moved.
rather than come back in here and readjust.
Yeah. Because, yeah. 'cause
Yeah,
this
move it at the
is-
end of the first quarter, by then they're gonna know the real number if you're going to award in February and best.
Yeah. And then we could move it, because it's gonna have to come from the general fund. But that's completely up to you guys.
So if we did it at the time, I think that if we did it at the time that we make all the entries, it's specified out of the operating capital budget. If we do it at a later date, then we take it out of general.
Does it require us to have it in the line item before we request the bids?
We just have to have the projected revenue and the appropriations in place, and then what we would be doing is moving the cash when we're ready to do the contract. But then if you approve this budget, we decide not to do it, then all I do is reduce the revenue and reduce the appropriations, and we wouldn't have moved the cash.
Well, I mean,
Whatever's simplest for you, I just thought it'd be easier to have the
We can-
discussion on,
I like the thought process of not moving the number until we know what the number is. But then, just from a nuts and bolts standpoint, if it's easier for us to approve it here and tell you that we don't want it moved specifically, you can designate it, but then you have to adjust it when we get the final.
And I'm okay with either way.
well, let it stand, that's fine.
Okay.
Not-
Okay.
Were there any departments or any electeds that asked for anything significant that we said no?
That we said no. I had Board of Elections that asked for a different increase, and that's another thing we need to talk about is raises, where we want to put raises. And what I have put in the general fund, anticipating 3%. We've done that for the last few years. So that's what I put in. Board of Elections had asked for additional to up their clerks.
A market adjustment for
A
the
market,
clerk.
yep, but I think I took it back down to 3%. That way we could get the comparisons and maybe bring them in January for
To do the adjustments?
to do the adjustments. That one I took out. And there'll be some noticeable changes in We increased maintenance a little bit because every year we seem to be shy, so we increased the maintenance line for utilities. Also, if you notice, under contingencies in the general fund, planning for the Justice Center, utilities, I had to hold 180 there for the 30s for the capital improvement line. The county's agreement was 30,000, city's agreement was 10,000, and then we're projecting 150,000 for utilities. Maximus had given us about 111,000 anticipated for the Justice Center. Spreadsheet we keep for the annex has been about 45,000. So we intend to pay all of the utility bills, since it will be one building, out of the Justice Center fund. So we have to hold that, and that's what I put in contingencies for the Justice Center.
So that's the 180 line
Yep,
amount.
yep. And if you notice the note has come out because we did decide to set money aside to pay that off, so we won't have that going further.
How much was that no payoff? Remind me again. Couple hundred.
300 and,
Okay.
yeah.
But that's away, that's gone.
Yep, we've already got it moved and we'll pay that off at the beginning of the year.
So just on a mop-up, you're gonna talk about the salary thing. I'm
Yeah.
okay with the 3%, if you guys are okay. So that, we'll move forward, and, I think our goal is to take care of the employees when possible, but it's not always going to be possible. Looks like it's possible this year. And thank you all for a job well done this year.
And that, going into those lines, our recommendation was the 3% or 50 cents, whichever is higher. Is that as well language we've?
That's another, yeah, we have to decide that, but I agree with
Okay.
you, I agree with you, I do that.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's worth noting that, I've talked to 2 or 3 other counties, and they're somewhere between 2 and 2.5, virtually everywhere. I'll start it by saying I absolutely agree with 3%.
Yeah.
But I do think that we need to let it be known that the rate of inflation has been less than 2 for 2017, and the consumer price index has risen somewhere in the 2 vicinity. But the county is healthy, and the employees do a great job, and I think they deserve every penny. So the motion would be, if we can get it, for a 3% raise for the employees, and/or 50 cents an hour, whichever is more.
I don't think I need a motion as long as you approve the budgets.
Okay.
You got the 50 cents in there?
Well, I've got 3% in there, I can recalculate
Okay.
for the
Okay.
additional
All
50,
right. Good enough.
if that's what you want.
Yeah.
So, let me see, what were some of the other changes? The court security, if you looked at court security, that might kind of shock you a little bit. Currently, the 2 security officers, which are employed by the sheriff, they get paid for out of a separate fund, court security. What sheriff has asked to do is, when the Justice Center is up and running, he's gonna bring his lieutenant supervisor that's currently at the jail, gonna bring him up here and put him in the back in the
Holding area.
yeah, he's got a command center back there. He's gonna put him up there, so he's taken it out of his jail side salary and he's put it into his court security salary, so,
Okay.
that would be a noticeable difference.
Well, I mean, but
Yeah, when I noticed that
not,
last night, I figured, I thought that's gotta be what that is.
Yes.
Although I'm going,
And they're not getting a $60,000
yeah,
raise.
so that's right.
And,
but from a general operating, let me make sure I understand. From a general operating standpoint, net is virtually the same.
Yep.
We're paying them out
It's
there,
just
we're just
different
paying them
line.
here now.
Yeah.
Okay.
just different fund, but it just looks as appears on the, looking at 17 and 18,
Yes.
you'll see a noticeable difference.
Yes, I know.
And the sheriff's side with the 2%, it'll show a 2% increase instead of the 3 that we agreed on, because he did eliminate that one salary. There was a request from juvenile probate court. The current court administrator had been funded for, out of a grant that the state has removed, and so we got a nice letter from Judge Meyer requesting that increase in his court salary line. If you noticed in the rest of his request, he had lowered some of his other lines, so.
Trying to balance it.
Yep. I think it offset, and she is well worth the money if to come out of the general fund. They're still working on grants. She said they weren't giving up on that, but the one that they had used.
Yeah, the only thing I would note on that is, often we find grant money to fund salaried positions, and when that grant money goes away, that's not an, automatic guarantee that
Right.
we're going to continue to fund it. And you want the grant money and you want the programs to continue, but we just have to be clear that we can't always be in a position to do that.
Yeah.
And that's not a comment on this particular position or not, it's just a quote. I had two other notes on the budget. I don't know if you're still going over.
Yep.
I've got 2 Guardians of the Public Purse Award for 2 of our electeds. The sheriff, as we were talking about, his salary line goes up, but he's taken on additional duties with the villages. So the sheriff himself doesn't get paid anymore, but he's taking on more responsibilities, and he's doing it because it's the right thing to do, and it's cost neutral to the county. But he deserves a Guardian of the Public Purse Award on that one. And another unsung hero that we don't talk about often is 2 other Guardians of the Public Purse is our prosecutor, Derek Devine, who his salary line's going up, but he's absorbing the prosecutors from the city of Tiffin. And he's taking on more work without additional pay. It's neutral to the county, but it's the right thing to do. So Brent Howard and Derek Devine, 2 unsung heroes in the defense of the public purse. So I want to shout out to them and say, job well done for the taxpayers, both of those.
You bet. Amen. Anything else?
That's all I have on the budget.
The only other thing, there was a couple increases I did put in there for Board of Elections. They have some, in promoting the scanning and eliminating the paper, they had a company come in and present this software, so I put it in their contract service because the software definitely sounds, he said you'll be able to search any language for any legislation, anything that they put on the ballot language, you'll be able to search it. The caveat is that they're gonna be the ones that's gonna have to scan it and put the information in, but they really seemed excited about that, and I think that just promotes what you guys have been trying to do and go paperless, and that was about $4,000 or $5,000 to get that software.
They're continuing to interview software vendors for the potential new voting machines,
Yes.
is that right? Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's a whole other issue.
That's right.
Yeah, Secretary of State Husted put in a request to the capital budget for $119 million to fund it. So we'll see where that comes out, but seems like a worthwhile thing to fund, just state level.
Yeah.
If they want, universally, similar equipment or same equipment, then they should fund it. You don't want 88 solutions for that if you.
Yeah, that's for doggone sure.
Soil and Water has asked for an additional $5,000. I've got it in there right now. They've kind of asked us for that for the last few years. I think they've done a wonderful job. But that's one I had a note here to bring up. The fairs are at their required amount, which is statutorily required. State Extension and Soil and Water is not. State Extension hasn't asked for an increase. Soil and Water has. They also asked for an increase in their floodplain administration, which we had a 3-year contract on that, so after 2019, we can revisit that for the floodplain, but it's $10,000 at least through 19, so.
And in, with the extension stuff, I sit on the Extension Advisory Committee, or council, whatever it's called, and, we're still working towards, working with the state on a project for funding a second agent, and I think they have felt for the last 3 years that we've been in and out with the 4-H person, and now it's been stable for well over a year again, and didn't want to do any kind of ask until we kind of saw where we were going with that, because that does require some kind of commitment for us. If we get in the program with the state, it'll be very minimal for the first 3 years, and then it would be picking up. So it's starting to move, and they are definitely favorable towards letting us, Seneca County, be one of their counties for that project. But I know that they've been very patient, and again, not wanting to ask, knowing we were trying to work things out. So the museum, does it reflect? We still have the agreement, correct, with the two organizations contributing monies,
Yes.
but this doesn't really or does it reflect?
It does.
How that works.
How they came to the because the agreement was worded, so whatever the advisory board and the museum director determined as a budget minus the director's salaries and utilities, then they split. And they had done the 8,000 last year. They agreed to that 8,000 that we put in Tanya's contract, is she had to bring in
4,000, 3,000.
2,000, I think.
Okay, 2,000.
Yeah.
So a total of 10,000. So I've got 10,000 put in place in the various lines that they're supposed to be, and they've reviewed it. They wanted to keep it the same. Actually, I think they kind of wanted to reduce it a little
They
bit.
want to
but
eliminate it.
They wanted to eliminate it
Yeah.
because
Reduced to zero.
Yeah, yep. Because being the first year, there was some money obviously in those donations that she hasn't spent because they're trying to get their
Right.
plan in place and, a plan to move
That's fair.
forward.
Well, we'll have ongoing discussions about that, because, I mean, I agree they have to have some skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
The other side of the argument is we have all this volunteer man hours here that equate to $40,000-$50,000 a year that we ought to get credit for. So there's an argument to be had.
Yeah. I saw there was nothing for, is it the workers, or is that on everybody's that way? Workers' comp and hospitalization, is that how they show, because they're lumped somewhere
Yeah,
else?
because
or-
last year I think we initially put it in the budget to show it, but general fund normally has a single workers' comp line.
Okay,
And
that's what I
we
was-
also have a single hospitalization line, so I think we put it in the budget last year to show it, but
Because you need to know what the true cost of that.
yeah.
Sure.
So this year we just put it in its normal line which we ended up moving it out of the fund, or out of the line after we appropriated it last year. Any other, trying to think of any other?
Two other thoughts that I had. One is, it appears to me that in previous years, we hadn't fully funded magistrates for the judges. And last year we did, and it's back in for this year.
Yes.
Is that something that's required or not required by?
That was, the judges, when we had, in 2008, when we were decreasing budgets, the judges said that they are allowed to use their special projects fund to pay for their magistrates. So they offset the salaries of what we were currently budgeting with their special projects fund. And we've done that for years up until last year. I think the judges requested the full amount come out of the general fund. And so budgets before had been about 83,000, and covering the full amount took it up to 125, and this year it'd be 128 with their
The only
increase.
other thing I will say to offset that is the judges stepped up on the Justice Center out of that Justice Fund, is that what it's called?
The Justice
Special
Center.
projects.
Or special project fund.
Special Projects Fund, and I don't remember the number, 600,000? How much did the judges contribute?
Oh, they did 500 for the project, and they're covering Lady Justice.
Right, but, and then also, well, it doesn't be municipal, but they did give us 500,000 out of that same account that they were funding the magistrates with. So it's not apples to apples or even apples to peaches. But it's,
Thank you very much.
It's all public money. going
Yeah, it's all
back
public
into a
money,
good-
yes.
Good cause. Okay, and the other thing that I had to note was the economic development line.
Yes.
I kind of remember that we had done a one-time 50 several years ago. I mean, I generally remember that. Have we historically, because I asked David Zach this last night, and he said it's been done a couple different ways. Does he come in and ask for a sup? or additional contribution? Have we given scope of work? What have we done there?
Past history, we've always done 20 and 10, and then when budgets started getting tight, we reduced it by the percentage of what the county was being reduced, so it took it down to the 17, and the, for Fostoria is 8,750. David Zach, I think this is year 3, because he originally came in and said it was
year
gonna
3.
be, this year would
We
be,
gave them the verbal and the 2.
on 2 years. This year is year 3, so.
So it was
he did-
originally a 2-year commitment.
Yep.
We renewed it in 2017 with no
Yep.
further, okay.
And I have not received a request for that additional, so I didn't put it in. He's got I put in the regular 17,000.
You will.
I will receive a request.
I'm sure that's coming.
Now that I said it.
Well, I just, if we're going to continue to fund, we just want to make sure that we're getting our goals met.
Yeah.
Whatever, from a county economic development standpoint. So, that includes New Rigo and Attica and Millmore and a lot of other places, so.
Because we don't currently have a contract. It's
We don't
just
have
our,
a contract.
no, we don't have a.
No, we just do, we've not had a contract since I've been here.
Okay. So we'll have that conversation with him when
Yeah.
he comes in.
Yeah, we need to have that.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments?
All right, I think we're okay here. What's your pleasure, commissioners?
I'll make a motion to accept the budget.
And I will gladly second.
General or non-general, or both?
All of today's work.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
If that put a smile on your face.
It will absolutely put a smile on my face.
And thank you very much for your hard work.
Is that
Yes.
including the 650, or do you want me
I'm
to
fine.
change
I'm
that?
fine
Okay.
with it.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
And I will print these without 2017 on there, so you can sign.
Okay, the time has come for public comment. Do we have any? Yes.
What were the figures for the non-general fund budget? If you mentioned those, I missed that.
There are a lot. I can
Is
give
there,
you a
is there
copy.
a total?
You want a
Okay.
total, I do have a total.
If you give me a copy, that's fine.
I sure will. Because it's a little, I think it was a little over 20 million, but it's non-general, so it's from various sources, grants, and
Yeah.
so that's why it's a little harder to give the full amount because,
20 million is the revenues or the expenditures or both?
expenditures for non-general. Okay, total is $21,124,317.07. And that is non-general fund,
And again, that's expenditures.
yes. Yep.
Stacy, you wanna run that number again? I'm just gonna write it at the top of it.
21,124,317.07. You want the general fund total?
I think that prints out, doesn't it? Yeah, that's out now. Just the other one, it doesn't.
Okay.
The other question I had was, if I understood right, there's going to be an increase in the sheriff's salary?
No.
No.
Salary line.
Salary line.
Oh, salary line, okay.
And it's really a shift because it was a gentleman that was doing his duties out there at the sheriff's
Right, right.
office, and now he'll be at the courthouse.
And he has an increase in staffing because he's
Right,
covering the
right.
villages, so his salary, he's not taking on an increase in, he doesn't get an increase in salary, he's taking on more responsibility.
Yeah.
That was the point there.
And I was always understanding that the sheriff of all 88 counties, their salaries are set by Ohio Revised Code.
Correct.
Yeah.
They're elected officials, like, yeah.
But when you're taking on more responsibility, not getting more salary, I mean, I think you're a guardian of the public purse there. You're seeking additional.
Right. Thank you.
Well, I mean, hopefully the take home is the fact that we did certify $17,500,000 in income for the county on the general fund. And we are spending $16,852,120 for a carryover of $647,879. I think that's hopefully the big takeaway.
I will motion that we go into executive session to discuss pending litigation.
Legislation.
Easy.
Pending legislation that we don't want the press to hear.
Yeah. And even if we do have some action, we're not telling them.
Yeah. You guys are
Okay.
welcome to stay.
Second, do we have to go through?
Second, yeah.
Okay, roll call that.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes. Into executive session at 1:44.